Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be a Chris Watts case retrospective, something I've wanted to do for a while, and I thought now would be a good time. It is August 12th, 2021 when I'm recording this. It'll probably be released tomorrow, August 13th, 2021, which is the 3-year anniversary of Chris murdering his family for, God knows why. And I thought I'd just make a video kind of covering the case in general. I don't think I've covered a lot of small topics here and here, but I don't think I've ever talked about the case as a whole too much. And I thought I'd do that and kind of just reflect on the case in general and hopefully move on from it as my channel goes forward, because I know this is a case that's stuck with a lot of people, and it has stuck with myself as well. There's cases like Bundy and Dahmer where, you just have these guys who murder a bunch of people and they're sick and twisted individuals, and it makes sense because, he had, like, Bundy, he just had that sexual deviant nature, and it doesn't make sense in a way, but it makes sense in a way because, he was just a messed up human being, and you can kind of come to that conclusion that's why he did that. But then you have Chris Watts, and it's like but then it's Chris, and you have your own kids, and it's harder to wrap your mind around why Chris would do this than it is why Ted Bundy murdered like 30 people. It is really hard to wrap your mind around how Chris could possibly do this to his own kids. So I think that's why, or at least personally, one of the reasons why I think this case is stuck around for so long in my mind. And it has stuck around the internet for a lot of reasons. And money is one of them, and I'll get to that later. But yeah, it has been around on the internet for a while. It's been 3 years. I remember hearing about it back in 2018. It's just as atrocious as it was then as it is now. And unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. So I want to get this out of the way first. The only time I've ever felt bad for Chris, ever, is his parents. Chris Watts, he had bad parents. Cindy Watts, terrible person. Cindy Watts, you could make a documentary about Cindy Watts, call it, they could make a sequel to the Netflix documentary. I'm going to call it American Narcissist, the bitch next door. Okay, you could make it about Cindy Watts. Okay, she was a narcissist. Chris Watts had terrible parents. He had no idea what a good relationship was, probably for the first, probably 10 years of his life, I would imagine, before he saw a functioning relationship. So that didn't help. And it really definitely didn't help his relationship with women in general. And Ronnie was just kind of pushover. So he had terrible parents, and that is not his fault. But it doesn't excuse what he did at all whatsoever. So that's the only kind of part where I feel bad for Chris, is his parents suck. So yeah, there's that. But moving on from that, and that's the only time I've ever felt bad for Chris, ever, because Chris is a horrible person. So I don't know why people keep thinking that I am on Chris's side ever, for whatever reason. I'm never on Chris's side. No one should be on Chris's side, except maybe his mom. Your mom's always on your side. But anyways, so let's get into some of the things about the case. Let's start off with Nicole Kessinger, because she's someone I don't talk about a lot. Nicole Kessinger, she changed her name. She was never in witness protection. That didn't happen. I don't know why people said that. I said that. It was reported a lot that she was in witness protection, but that was never a thing. She was never in witness protection. That never happened. She did change her name right after the Netflix documentary came out. Nicole Kessinger changed her name, and she did that through the Colorado court system. So it seems like she's still living in Colorado, but I don't know. I don't know why people are so obsessed with her and think she's involved. I don't personally think she was involved. I think Chris did this on his own, but there are a lot of people that think that Chris and Nicole were in, some kind of cahoots or whatever. They think Nicole was involved in this murder or whatever. I don't think so, but either way, she's not that great of a person, for sleeping with a married man, obviously. There, you have that. Either way. So personally, again, I don't think Nicole was involved in the murder, but do I think Nicole is a good person? No, I think she's a shitty person for sleeping with a married man. So there's that. And obviously, her involvement has, sparked a lot of debate online and, armchair detective. I don't want to get into that too much, but, he's made like thousands and thousands of dollars, speculating whether she was involved or not, which she wasn't. But, yeah. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of people who have been capitalizing on this case, myself included. I've made some money on this case, covering it, but not that much. And I don't think I've done anything too, clickbaity or anything like that. I haven't done anything sensational. I've only covered this case in the way that I felt comfortable doing so. I don't think I've done anything wrong, but there have people who have taken it too far. Armchair detective, Jays for Justice, etc., etc. People have taken this case too far for money. And the 35C thing, there was a 35C. It is a not appeal, but it was, just a motion to attack the integrity of the conviction. And it was never something that was really a possibility of working, but they did it anyways, kind of just for publicity and for money, and they got donations and whatnot. And I don't know why people donated, but they did, because people think Chris is innocent for whatever reason, and all of that shit, whatever. I don't know. It's all bizarre why people support Chris Watts. It's very clear to me that Chris could kill his wife and kids. I don't know why it isn't clear as day to everyone else. I know it is to most people. So to most people, you're probably nodding your head and say, yeah, Chris killed his wife and kids. So I don't know. But there are, a huge group of people that like Chris Watts. I don't know why. They support Chris Watts. They write letters to Chris Watts. I've written a letter to Chris Watts. It wasn't a positive letter, but, it was just asking him why he did those things. But, people like Chris Watts. They are, attracted to Chris Watts. I don't know. I would imagine that Chris Watts is probably going to get married while he's in prison. And that's probably going to be a big thing when that happens. And I would imagine that people are going to get upset about it. So look out for that when that happens. Chris Watts will probably get married at some point in prison. He's like 35. And I would imagine that at some point between now and, the time he dies, which will be, probably a long time from now, unless, again, he gets, shanked in the chow line, he'll probably get married at some point in time. It's a pretty common thing in prison. So, yeah, he's at Dodge Correctional Institute right now. I don't think he'll be there forever. I really doubt it. But, again, he was moved there from, the Colorado prison system. He got moved to the Wisconsin prison system for his own safety because, people were threatening to kill him and stuff like that. That was probably warranted, to be honest, but, people don't like it when you kill kids and stuff like that. So, yeah. As far as the case as a whole goes, trust issues, yeah, it's like, if you can't trust the father of your own children, who you're supposed to trust. And I think that kind of hurt everyone's relationship in a way, in a small way, even though, and it's like, I know, my mom's not going to murder me, my dad's not going to murder me, but it's like, who can you trust, right? It's like, if Chris can do it, couldn't anyone do it? It's like, who do you really know? And that he's just one of those people that sows those seeds of discord in the back of your mind. And it's just a shame that you have to have those thoughts sometimes. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, Chris. Macaroni eating piece of shit. But yeah, Chris, terrible criminal though. I think I've been over this a bunch of times, He was never going to get away with it. Obviously there was, again, GPS in the truck, neighbor's garage camera, shallow grave, buried on his work site. I don't know why he took them to the place where he works. It's like they'll never check there, right? I don't know. Then he's like rummaging around the car, like this isn't going to be suspicious at all, right? Just looking through this car, right? Nothing in here. Just going to take this polygraph test. I'm Chris Watts. I'm going to take this polygraph test. I'm going to pass it because, I'm a genius, right? It's like, no, buddy, you're not a genius. You're not a criminal mastermind. So, and this is kind of devolving into the point where it's like, I'm just going to start making fun of Chris because it's all so stupid. And that's the saddest part, because all of this is just so stupid. And that it didn't need to happen. And that is, the most depressing part about all of it is that it didn't need to happen. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from pretty much every murder, for the most part, is that it didn't need to happen. Okay? That's what I want to leave you with, I think. It didn't need to happen. All right? Chris could have just gotten a divorce or whatever. There are the financial issues, obviously. And, financial issues are huge. It's probably, I think it is the most common reason for divorce. But, and the whole Thrive thing, and it is a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing companies are terrible. Don't get wrapped up in those. Yeah, I've made videos about multi-level marketing companies, and I'm going to make another one, I think, trying to explain multi-level marketing companies, without true crime elements. Not everyone, no one getting murdered. But yeah, don't get involved in multi-level marketing companies. They're bad. Personal opinion. So there were financial issues, yeah. But, there was nothing in Chris Watts' life that was so bad that he had to murder them. And there was nothing. Nothing. Yeah. They bought a house that they couldn't afford. They paid $400,000 for that house. It's worth probably $600,000 now if Chris hadn't have murdered them. Now, because Chris murdered them in that house, it's probably not worth that much. But had Chris not have murdered them in their house, that would be a very expensive house. Okay? It'd be a very, very nice house. But now Chris tainted it pretty much. So, yeah. Anyways, there was no reason for any of this to happen. And that's the saddest part. And then when Chris did obviously get life in prison, the death penalty was legal at the time in Colorado. It has since been banned in Colorado. So Chris will not get the death penalty. That was an option at the time, but Shanann's parents obviously didn't want that to happen for Chris, so they had mercy and gave him life in prison. So Chris is going to be in prison for life. He is not going to get out of prison. I don't know why that was ever a thing for debate. Chris was never going to get out of prison. That's just not going to happen for Chris. You can look at whatever legal avenue, unless Chris wants to break out of prison, and I don't think he's that clever. Unless he wants to hire Michael Schofield from Prison Break to break him out of jail, that's not going to happen. So, yeah. There are just so many elements to this case. It's a really interesting case, and it is definitely worth looking into if you haven't, but, getting obsessed with it, I don't think so. I think it's time to move on. And it is hard to move on because, it is, such a abhorrent crime. Killing your own child, multiple child, and your pregnant wife. It's hard to move on from. But I think at some point you have to. So Chris, you're a dumbass. I hope you have fun in prison. That is my Chris Watts retrospective.